You are given two non-empty linked lists representing two non-negative integers. The most significant digit comes first, and each of their nodes contain a single digit. Add two numbers and return the sum as a linked list. So the question is saying two numbers are given, two linked lists are given to us, and we don't have an empty linked list, so we don't need to deal with that situation that we have only one number and the other linked list is empty. The other thing that we don't need to deal with, it says all the digits that we have in this linked list are positive, so they are non-negative integers, so we don't need to deal with negative numbers either. The other thing that it says the most significant digit comes first. What does that mean? It says let me write down the example that we have here. So it says the first number is 7,243 and the second number is 564, right? And when we sum them up, it's going to be 7,807, right? If we do it like this, we are going to start from the head of each linked list. So if we do it the way the linked list is, so it's going to sum 7 and 5 up, and then it's going to be 2 and 6, 4 and 4, and 3 and empty, which is going to give us the wrong answer. For dealing with this situation, what we need to do, we need to reverse this linked list. So instead of 7,243, we need to reverse the linked list and make it 3,427, and the same thing for the second linked list, and then we get the result, and then we reverse the result. So what we need to do here, we need to reverse the first linked list, we need to reverse the second linked list, and reverse the second linked list, and then we need to do the summation and reverse it, summation and reverse, and return the result, right? So because we are using to reverse, we can write a function and call that function, which makes it easier. Instead of like writing many lines of codes, we're going to write a function and we call that function. So let's write down the reverse function. We're going to call it reverse, and what we are going to do, we are going to give this reverse function a head, the head of each linked list, right? This is what is given to the reverse function. What we need to do for reversing this number, we need to know what is behind it, what is the previous node. So this 7 is going to point at the previous node, and when it points at the previous node, we lose this access to this value. So we need to store this node somewhere too. So what we need to do, we need to have a previous node, which we are going to have it none, because we are going to reverse it and tail is going to be none. So we start from none, and then for the next node, which is going to be 2, what we need to do, we are going to say head dot, we can write this none as well, and we will fill it out during the while loop, and we are going to have a current, right, the node that we are pointing at, which is going to be head. And then what we are going to do, we are going to have a while loop, we are going to iterate the linked list, and we are going to make them to point to the previous node. So for doing that, we are going to say while head, while current, which means if the node is not empty, what we are going to do, we are going first, we need to store the next node somewhere. So we are going to say current dot next. So right now we stored number 2, the node 2 in the next node, so we don't lose this node. Then what I'm going to do, I'm going to make the current dot next, which is 7, point to the previous one. And the previous one right now is none, so it's going to point at none. After doing that, what we need to do, we need to update previous and current. We are going to put current at the previous, which is going to be 7 here. 7 is going to be at the previous now. This is the next node that we have, and what we're going to do, we are going to update the current to the next node. Right? So let's see what happens. So we start from none for previous and next node, and the current is head, which is going to be, I'm going to put it here, 7. It's 7 now, right? And we check if it is not empty. It's not empty. It's 7. We are going to put the current dot next in the next node, which is number 2, right? We are going to put 2 here. And we are going to say the current that we have here. So let's write it down here. We are going to say the current, or here is good. We are going to say the current that we have here, which is 7, dot next is going to point at the previous. What is the previous now? It's going to be none. So it's going to point at none, right? So this is what is happening here. Or I can write it like this, so it's going to be easier to understand. Okay, this is the case. Right now, we don't have any connection between 7 and 2 anymore. 7 is pointing at none, and the rest of the linked list is the way it was before. And then we are going to update the previous. Previous is going to be updated to current. What is the current? It's 7, right? Is updated to current, and the current is going to be updated to the next node. What was the next node here? 2. So now this is going to be 2. Okay. We go and we check the current. Current is not empty. What we are going to do, we are going to update the next. Next is going to be current dot next. What is after 2? It's 4. So next is going to be 4. And then we are going to say current dot next, which is 2 dot next, is going to point at the previous one. What is the previous? It's 7. So this is going to point at this one, and it's going to lose this connection. We are going to update the previous. The previous is current, which is going to be 2. And the current is going to be the next node, which is going to be 4. And then we check if current, yes, we have value 4 in it. So we are going to update the next node to 3. It's going to be 3 here. And current dot next, it's going to be pointing at the previous, which is previous is 2 now, and it's going to lose this connection. And we are going to update the previous. Previous is going to be the current one that we have. And the current is going to be the next node, which is going to be 3. So it checks if current, yes, we have value 3 in it. So we are going to put current dot next, which is going to be none here. And current dot next is going to point at the previous. So it's going to point at the previous. And we are going to update the previous to current. So previous is going to be 3. And current is going to be next node, which is none. And then it says if current is has value in it, and it's none. So we are done with this while loop. And what we need to do, we are going to return previous. Number 3 here, which is the head of this new linked list. After doing that, so what we need to do, we need to reverse. This is the function that we are going to call. We need to reverse a new L1 is going to be reverse L1, and for L2 we are going to be NL2. We are going to call reverse function for L2. So now we have reversed these two numbers. So this is what we have so far. Now we need to do the summation. For doing the summation, what we are going to do, we are going to do the summation and reverse at the same time. We are not going to call the reverse function after. We are going to do it at the same time. We are going to see, we need to have a carry. We are going to put the 0 for the carry, and we are going to have head none, because we are doing the summation and reverse at the same time. So none here, and we are going to say while there is NL1 or there is NL2 or there is a carry is not equal to 0, for any of these cases, if they are true, what we are going to do, we get the number 1. And number 1 is the number that we need to get the value of the nodes, right? For doing that, we are going to say nl1.val, right? This is what we're going to say. But val, the node might be empty, it might be none, so we need to make sure that we have some value in it, and if there is no value in it, we are going to return 0, something like this. So what we are going to do, we are going to put 0 here. We are going to say if there is no value here, put 0 instead, right? So we're going to say if nl1, if not nl1, if nl1, return nl1.val, else return 0. We are going to do the same for number 2 as well. So nl2.val, if nl2, if it has value in it, otherwise return 0. After doing that, we are going to get the total. The total is going to be num1 plus num2 plus carry if we have any, which is by default I have set that to 0. And then we are going to divide that by 10 to get the remaining and carry that we need for the next number. And I'm going to use dev mod from Python, total to 10. And what we are going to do, we are going to create a node. Result is going to be for the new value, right? Node. And I'm going to put the remain in it, right? And what we are going to do, we are going to say, as I mentioned, we are going to do the reverse here, right? So this is the reverse section that we are going to do. What we are going to do, we are going to say reverse.next, right, is going to point at head. So the value that we have here, which is going to be 7, right? It's going to be 7. 7 is going to point at, which is going to be here. 7 is going to point at none, and we are going to update the head to res. And now we need to move forward. We need to go one step forward. We are going to say nl1 is equal to nl1.next is going to next, but if there is a next, if nl1 else none, we are going to do the same thing for nl2. nl2 if nl2.next, if nl2 else none. There we go. And after doing that, after building this one, so let's go through a few examples. So we check the value, we have done 7, and the next one is going to be 4 and 6. This is going to return 4, and this is going to return 6, right? So we are going to do the summation. So it's going to be 4 plus 6 plus 0, because we didn't have any carry from the previous one, and we are going to get the carry. Carry is going to be 1, and the remain is going to be 0. It's going to create a node 0 here, so it's going to say 0 is going to point at 7, and we are going to update the head to rest, which is going to be 0 here, right? And then we move to the next one, which is going to be node 2 and 7. We get the value. So for the first one, it's going to be 2, and for the second one, it's going to be 5. And now we need to add 2 plus 5, and carry is 1, so it's going to be 8 here. And then we are going to divide 8 by 10. It's going to be 0 and 8, and we are going to create node 8, and it's going to point at head, which is going to be 0, and then it's going to be updated to head. What we are going to return at the end, we are going to return the head, because we keep updating the head. And that's about it. Let me run the code and see, how it works. Run the code, and there you go, it works. So the time complexity for this is going to be linear, and the total of the numbers that we have in linked list 1 and linked list 2, and the space complexity, if we don't consider the result, is going to be constant. Thank you.